He said last week, my only problem is I can't qualify high enough.
I haven't ever felt like, he's probably got what it takes to be a world champion.
These cars today are much more complicated than what I was driving.
And yeah, I think he's not enjoying being second whatsoever, considering he's been a world champion with the team.
Zero mistakes, zero locking. Just a perfection.
I don't think he's liking it much, but this is MotoGP.
I am Jean Alesi and you are listening to me in Gearbox FanCode.
इंडिया में तो गर्मी का मौसम आ चुका है और सबके पसीने छूट रहे हैं और रेसिंग की दुनिया में भी कहानी कुछ ऐसी ही है क्योंकि इस हफ्ते फार्मूला 1 और MotoGP गए दो रेगिस्तान देशों में। फार्मूला 1 वेंट टू बहरीन, MotoGP वेंट टू कतर और वहां तो ऐसे ड्राइवर्स और राइडर्स जीते हैं जो सबसे ज्यादा आइस कोल्ड थे, सबसे ज्यादा कूल, सबसे ज्यादा कंपोज और सबसे बढ़िया इन टर्म्स ऑफ मैनेजिंग एवरीथिंग। क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, क्यों हुआ और क्या होने वाला है, ये सारी कहानियां और बहुत कुछ और बताएंगे आज हम आप सबको फैन कोड के गियरबॉक्स पॉडकास्ट पर, पावर्ड बाय MRF. And today we've got two very exciting guests. Two guests who speak with heart, soul and passion. Firstly, in the studio, we've got the founder of India's first ever hybrid racing academy, race car driver and also content creator, Jamie Shaw, the founder of Shaw to Win, is here with us. And Jamie, you're not alone because along with you, we're also getting a legendary Ferrari driver in the form of Jean Alesi as a part of this episode. This one is going to be a big one.
Thank you so much, and great to be back for another episode. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what, Jean has to really say, because being in that scene, being around there, having all those kinds of insights, being at home is one thing, reading as much as you possibly can, but when you are on that grid, when you've literally felt that ground beneath you shake and race alongside the likes of Ayrton Senna, I think there's going to be a lot of good information that we're going to have on that.
A lot. John shared so many interesting insights. लेकिन वो insights पर हम आएंगे बहरीन GP की बात करने के बाद, क्योंकि वहाँ काफी कुछ पागलपन हुआ। तो क्यों ना पहले समझते हैं कि बहरीन GP में हुआ क्या और ऑस्कर पियास्ट्री ये रेस आखिर कैसे जीते। It was hot, clearly. It's Bahrain. It's in the middle of a desert. गर्मी होती है वहाँ पर. But you need someone with a cool head and a cool temperament to prevail there. And Oscar Piastri did just that. Sublime. He said last week, my only problem is I can't qualify high enough. And there he was, qualified number one, and he was able to control it so well. He's world champion material for sure.
No, definitely. I feel like looking at how he's been doing compared to how Norris has been doing. I think I've said this before, which is Norris needs to be like babied, to some extent. That's how I personally feel with everything. Even in the past, I've heard him say, I need these things to, be in place and those things and blah, 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 blah. It's just not going to work that way in any form of motorsport, whether it's go-karts or Formula 1. And we've just seen how ice cold Piastri can be, And we've got one Kimi on the grid, but probably he's the next OG.
Exactly.
when it comes to being
exactly.
ice cold. So yeah.
I was going to say that if Oscar Piastri wasn't a race car driver, he'd probably be a monk. He's just that cool. Like that restart, I'm just amazed. Every single driver was on the back of his car, but Oscar was relaxed, nothing to worry about. But on the other hand, even though Lando Norris did drive well and he came back from P6 to P3 and everything went well, he was very self-critical of himself. It didn't feel like he had as much confidence or as much composure. Now, मैं समझता हूँ कि ये generation अलग है, मैं भी उस generation का ही हिस्सा हूँ और हम काफी self-critical है. Self-deprecating humor is a thing we do normally. But even then, some say they don't see the signs of a world championship material driver in Lando. Did you see that this week?
To be very honest with you, I'd say it's one race at a time, but it's the consistent things about Lando that I haven't ever felt like, he's probably got what it takes to be a world champion. And that's my belief really, because you have a car and this is the fastest car.
Yeah.
It's quite evident, but then to be like, these were the problems and those were the, I just don't feel like it sits well with even the team, you've been with the team for longer than Piastri has. You've been racing in Formula 1 for longer than Piastri has. You've had enough exposure to, keep it calm, relaxed and go progress. But honestly speaking, there's just so much that happens as a race driver in your race. it's a little difficult to know the complete picture from outside. And I've always felt like Norris has been someone who is probably not shared everything that goes on. You know, some drivers are quite vocal about what's happening here and there. I feel like maybe he's dealing with some other things we're not aware of, you know?
Yeah, and clearly one such issue was rear grip this weekend. Bahrain एक ऐसा circuit है जहाँ पे abrasiveness काफी ज़्यादा है, rubber पर काफी जोर पड़ता है. Not just the front tires, more so on the rears because आपको slow corner से exit काफी लेना होता है. For Lando Norris, that turned out to be a little bit of an issue. He's a driver who likes a very planted rear end. And at Bahrain, you normally don't get that, khaskar when degradation is so high. I mean, we saw more pit stops than we all expected.
Right.
And Lando just wasn't able to get the car turning in. And Oscar, on the other hand, when I look at that qualifying lap, again, I'm not a driver, but I see just how smooth he is on the inputs, and I go, wow, Lando, he probably missed out on something here.
Definitely, I feel like even with even with Russell coming in the picture and splitting the two in quali, was it before the penalty really came through?
Yeah. And he still fought back, by the way,
he still
regardless
fought.
of that.
And he quite literally came back to P2 as well, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So great job there, and I don't think he got a penalty after the race,
No,
did
he
he?
didn't. No, he didn't.
He got saved right there.
He had more issues to fight with. I mean, the DRS flap was opening up randomly. The screen was going blank. He was hearing random noises. Russell was in the middle of a software glitch or something in the car. I mean, we saw him randomly go literally to Saudi Arabia in the live timing because his telemetry wasn't quite tracking very properly.
Right.
So it's crazy. But Russell split up the McLarens,
Right.
which I find interesting. But behind him, the story was even more crazy in my opinion. Max Verstappen, P6. और कल तो, I say कल because we're recording on the Monday afterwards, but कल तो किस्मत उन पर फिर भी मुस्कुरा रही थी क्योंकि सेफ्टी कार के चलते एटलीस्ट उनको पॉइंट्स में वापस आने का मौका मिला. Otherwise, had the safety car not been there, he would have been out of the points.
Yeah, he was last at one point,
Yeah.
right, when he exited the pits. And again, even they had software glitches with the pit light
Exactly.
not working. Even the same thing with Yuki. And speaking of Yuki, at least he's come into the points, you know, as at least the second Red Bull who scored, I think, the first point this whole season.
At last.
Finally.
At last.
Yeah.
How long has it taken, man? I swear, it feels like forever.
Definitely.
But I just want to cycle back to Max because there are rumors circling in that the Red Bull Racing camp had a very big meeting and Max's manager was apparently very unhappy with Helmut Marko, and Helmut had no choice but just to listen to all the complaints. If you were Helmut Marko, what else could you do? The car is just not there.
After seeing Lewis go from Mercedes to Ferrari, you know, seeing how many years, how much time he spent with the team and still saying, this is not the package I want, goodbye. I feel like something is upcoming that they're not gonna like, and I feel like this regulation change next year is gonna be, I think it's going to kill Red Bull's dominance.
He's Max Verstappen. He'll find his own way. And सुनने में ये आ रहा है कि Max Verstappen के contract में performance clauses हैं, which means that if Red Bull don't perform to a certain level, he is free to leave, which is why there is genuine panic in that team.
Crazy.
Max Verstappen is not a driver who qualifies midway through the top 10. He's not a P6, P7 driver. We know he's the best. There is no denying it, which makes Jeddah even more interesting. The fact that Red Bull no longer are that dominant car. Because a couple of years ago when we went there, Perez was winning races there. That's how good that car was.
That's true, and I feel like next weekend, the experienced drivers are going to have a good go at it. I honestly predict there's going to be a safety car with 3 rookies crashing out. That's my prediction because you see Jeddah is such a tight circuit. We've seen really experienced drivers also hit the wall. Even Max in quali at one stage when he was on that super lap a couple years back and then boom.
That's the kind of circuit it is. It rewards you for high risk, but then अगर आप जरा भी वो 100% line के पार हो जाते हो, if you go to 101%, it bites you so bad. It's not like Bahrain. You don't have any runoff.
Right.
I'm somewhat worried about the confidence because you need confidence in qualifying, but it's not a rear limited circuit, front limited. Lando's great at turning in the car, and if that McLaren can regain that stability, which I think they would because Deg is not that high in Saudi Arabia, I'm backing Lando for the win, purely because track position.
George Russell.
Oh, you know, that's not a bad shout, my friend. And you got your last prediction right on this very chair. You said Max 1. You're on 1-on-1.
Right.
2 for 2 could be a possibility, you know?
Let's have a look.
Let's have a look. Okay, where do you think Piastri is going to finish? Because the momentum is now on his side, firmly. Like 2 pole positions, 2 wins, 100% conversion record. If he puts it on pole, there's no chance he's losing it, right?
I think Piastri is going to finish P2 and in P3 is going to be Kimi's first podium. Big prediction, but let's see.
So you're saying Lando's not even going to be in the top 3?
No.
You heard it first here. Okay then. What a crazy race Jeddah is going to be. Action-packed to the limit. और वहाँ इतने crazy races हमने देखे हैं कि आप miss ही नहीं कर सकते. So next weekend, in fact, not even next weekend, this weekend on FanCode, make sure you watch the broadcast in English and also with Hindi commentary as well. पर ये तो रही जेदा की कहानी. And it's incredible कि आज के शो पर हम invite कर पा रहे हैं Ferrari legend Jean Alesi को. कुछ दिन पहले मुझे मौका मिला था उनके साथ बात करने का. And he's such an amazing person. He's the man with the biggest heart, literally. He literally remembered to thank my dad and say that he's such an amazing fan at the end of our interview. Nobody does that. Formula One drivers don't even sign autographs, but Alesi is the man with the most passion and the most soul out of any Formula One driver I've spoken to. And he's shown that on track so many times. आप सबको याद होगा कि कैसे अपने second Formula One race में, as a rookie, he was able to fight head to head with Ayrton Senna and able to impress everyone. And then his iconic win at the 1995 Canadian GP as well. But with Jean, we had a lot of fun conversations. हमने बात की rookies के बारे में, हमने बात की Piastri के बारे में, हमने बात की Max Verstappen के बारे में और खासकर Lewis Hamilton के बारे में भी. Because Jean knows a lot about Ferrari. He knows a lot about what the environment's like, what the vibe is like, and how tough it is to actually gel in at that team. He says Lewis just needs to be patient. Let's listen into Jean.
I want to talk to you about someone who I see a lot of similarities with you. Isaac Hadjar, very heart on his sleeve kind of person, French as well, emerging, and he's made a lot of impact in his first couple of races, just like you did in Formula One. Are you liking what you see of Isaac?
Well, you know, I'm the captain of the French driver, and Isaac is one of our driver from the French team. And when he was driving in Formula 4 and Formula 3, many times I met him, and I always see from him a kind of attitude like if he has no problem, he knows what he wants to go, and he will reach the point, you know. And even if sometimes I was saying to Isaac, go down, because the way to reach F1 is long. And now when I see him having the same attitude from the first Grand Prix to now, that means that is really his character. He's enjoying and he's really doing a super job.
And what's that best thing about him that you feel?
The confidence, you know, the confidence, and you know, it's so important because driving these cars, they are very impressive.
Do you see that same fearlessness in him that you showed when you fought against Senna in Phoenix? You see that similar side of him?
Yeah, because on a fight, he's really he has no problem with anybody. But I have to admit, these cars today are much more complicated than what I was driving. I had nothing else than thinking about my braking point, who is behind, how I can fight with a driver like I did with Ayrton in Phoenix. It was most simple, and we have more freedom just to be on the limit of the car. Now they have to follow a kind of rule to not overheat the brakes, not to overheat the tires, and to recharge the battery. I mean, the process is much more complicated for the young driver than what I was driving at the time.
Were you surprised that he actually also could tell that Lando accelerated earlier?
Well, honestly, surprised no, but I look like if I have to stay to the end to understand when Lando will attack, you know. And sometimes he was catching and backing off, catching and backing off, and it was incredible because it was so intense. But Max had a full control of the race, zero mistakes, zero locking. I mean, just a perfection.
You see that same side in Oscar also, because Franz told me that he sees Oscar as a potential world champion. Like he has that X factor you need, that grit that you need for a world champion driver. Do you think so too?
I think so. Yeah, it will be this year. Is going to be until the end very uncertain for the title, and of course, he's part of the game, definitely.
So, what do you think can be that one thing that prevents McLaren from winning the championship this year? If there's one thing that can stop them, what could that be?
Apparently, because it's not so evident when you see the top 10 drivers in 410s. It's very close, So they have the car less sensitive of a temperature change, a wind direction change. This car look more balanced, I have to say, because sometimes you see the Ferrari very competitive on Friday morning, Friday afternoon, the heat of the circuit, the temperature is maybe 5 degrees more or less, and then the car is not there anymore. So they have the car less sensitive than the other cars, I believe.
But I think people are being unfair on Lewis, as you mentioned earlier, because there's so much that changes when you join a new team, right? New language, new people, new processes, new systems on the car as well.
Yeah, and he won. He won the sprint race. It's not easy. He did the pole position, but because he didn't make any mistake, he did the perfect lap, and then he kept the position. So at the end, we have to be a little bit slow on saying, he's in a difficult situation, because I believe very soon he's going to be on the top.
I now want to ask you about another driver who this weekend is going to have his 91st Formula One race start, and he hasn't won a race yet. Does that number ring a bell, John? You also won on your 91st Formula One start. It's Yuki Tsunoda. Is that a good omen? Is that a good omen, do you think? He's clearly doing better than what Lawson did, and his Friday and Saturday looked quite good in the Red Bull last weekend.
Yeah, for sure, he's more prepared to be the teammate of Max. But to say he's ready to win a race, I'm not so sure.
I want to talk to you about the rookies individually, because I feel you're the best person to tell me more about this. Because stepping into Formula One, it's not that easy, even more so today with so many things that you mentioned. But all of the rookies, they all look very impressive. I'm amazed at how ready they are nowadays. Do you think the pipeline has become much better, that you're so well trained in the Formula One nowadays?
Well, you know what is now different with the new generation? The kids, they are into the academy very soon.
Yeah.
Very, very early. So they teach all the rule and the rules to make a car fast, to drive the car on the limit, to have all the information without being disturbing, with not disturbing the drive. So at the end, they prepare the drivers like if at the end of the day they race in Formula One. So when they are for the first time on the grid, they have already many years of being prepared, and they make a super job. But at the end, who makes the difference in between them is not only the team, because of course for Kimi Antonelli, he drives a car who is able to be on the podium every weekend, which is not the case of Isaac with the Red Bull Racing, but the Racing Bull, sorry. So at the end, they make the best out of it. We see with Bierman as well in qualifying compared to Ocon. It's massive what he's doing, this guy, and just because he was prepared by Ferrari since a long time.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I read somewhere that Kimi Antonelli did 10,000 kilometers of testing before he got into Formula One. Did you do 10,000 kilometers yourself when you got in?
No, actually, I never check how many kilometers I did. But in my case, my first race in Formula One, I had 0 kilometers because I was in Formula 3000 with Eddie Jordan. And in the Tyrrell team, they had an issue with Michele Alboreto. So they asked me to be ready for the race, but I had no seat position, not even one lap with the car. And when I arrived there, I just modified a little bit the seat of Michele, and they said, okay, let's go like that. And I finished fourth, So that was, for the time, a very good achievement. And that is the reason why I signed for one Grand Prix, but I did 201 Grand Prix.
That's a good line. That's you're the only person who can say that. That's a good flex. What should people know and love about the Canadian GP particularly?
So first of all, it's like a street circuit because you are in between the wall, because you sit very low. You have all the corners without visibility. So when you go into the corner, you don't see the exit. You have to position your car in the best way possible because you have no chance to recover. So the line is very, very important. And it's a very strong circuit for the braking.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have a car who give you the confidence to brake late. And then you need to have the will to position the car on the top.
Can you just send a short message to the Indian Formula One fans about what you feel? And a lot of them are Ferrari fans, and a lot of them are your fans. So I'd love to know what you have to say for them.
So first of all, it's fantastic to have the fan, because I'm now a fan of Formula One. I'm not a driver anymore. And I enjoy so much to watch the Formula One Grand Prix. So it is very nice to have such a country like India, who has so many fans in F1. You have a fantastic racing circuit. I never race on it, but I watch on TV, and all the driver was excited about it. I hope one day we will be able to come back.
We need to get you in a touring car there, John. That will be so much fun.
Yeah, I know. My friend Kartikayan always asked me to come with him to drive on the circuit.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. Awesome.
ओके अब बात करते हैं मोटो जीपी की, क्योंकि वहां मार्क मार्केस की डोमिनेशन अब तक खत्म होने का नाम ही नहीं ले रही. 4 races, 3 race wins, 4 pole positions, and also 4 sprint wins. This guy, Jamie, he just does not make a mistake. At halfway mark of the Qatar GP, it didn't really feel like he was going to win because Maverick Vinales was just incredible. But the thing with the best riders is, they don't always have to be the fastest. They can wait for the others to make a mistake and just capitalize, and that's what Mark did.
I think that's very true, and we actually saw quite a bit of tussle between the brothers itself on track. That was quite interesting to see, and we really saw how competitive that satellite Ducati bike can even be. I think top 4 at the end of it were the Ducatis, and really competitive, good fight.
पर सबसे बड़ी कहानी तो ये है कि पेको बैग्नान ने इतनी बड़ी कमबैक की है, लेकिन फिर भी पॉइंट्स हारे हैं मार्क मार्केस को, because Marquez, as we like to call him in the racing circles, he's an alien. He's literally on another planet. Incredible with this tire management. And when others are struggling with rear grip, Marc Marquez is able to preserve his tires so well, which is something that Pecco actually did on this Ducati better than anyone else before Marc came in. But Pecco की बात करनी होगी. From 11th to 3rd in one lap. That is a world champion's comeback. And then after that, he inherited 2nd place because Vinales got that penalty. So on his part, he did all he could, but still it boils down to qualifying. Had qualifying been slightly better, who knows, maybe this could have been a race win.
He should be doing, I'd say, the job in quali. Unfortunately, had a slip-off, fell down all the way to P11, but yes, definitely quite a strong comeback in the beginning stages itself.
रेस के बाद पेको को जब सेकंड प्लेस की ट्रॉफी दी गई थी, क्योंकि मैवरिक विनालेस को पेनल्टी मिली, पेको काफी मायूस नजर आ रहे थे, इतने खुश नहीं नजर आ रहे थे. But you can tell that he's not feeling it entirely. And even within the Ducati camp, I sense something shifting.
Yes.
Because we saw the Ducati team principal, Davide Tardozzi, come to the media and say that we really acknowledge what Pecco has done with this bike. He's the one who's built it.
Right.
But you only make statements like that when he's not doing well, because you want to remind the world that he's actually a good rider.
And yeah, I think he's not enjoying being second whatsoever, considering he's been a world champion with the team.
Yeah.
And now he's got, of course, a new world champion come into the team and compete as hard. So I don't think he's liking it much, but this is MotoGP.
Exactly. Now imagine if Rohit Sharma was demoted from Mumbai Indians क्योंकि उनके बदले और एक ओपनिंग बैट्समैन आया और उनसे कैप्टनसी छीनी, उनकी जगह निकाल दी और उनको बोला टीम से बाहर निकलो, मैं अब यहाँ का नंबर 1 हूँ। उस ऐसे इंसान को बाहर निकालना जिसने इस टीम को खड़ा किया है, that takes some doing. But you can only do that if you are Marc Márquez. But there could be one more person who would be on Marc's level, who I feel would have the capabilities to beat him, but unfortunately, he's in hospital. Jorge Martin. Once more, back on the MotoGP grid. Firstly, it was incredible to see Martin back. The guy suffered a broken hand and a broken leg. फिर भी उसके बावजूद आए, इस साल की पहली रेस में compete किया अप्रिलिया के लिए. And there, it just went even worse. He had a fracture, 6 ribs broken on his comeback to MotoGP. And the man can't catch a break.
Injuries are, I've seen riders get injured. The mental road to recovery is far harder.
Yeah.
Because you have to mentally be in the game. 4 months, no racing and coming back is one thing, but to mentally be in the game and come back and say, okay, now I will fight even harder. It's something that is a champion's mentality, and he has that.
Yeah.
So again, when he returns, let's see how how he can tackle these kinds of challenges.
Okay, then MotoGP will be back in a couple of weeks' time. Jerez, we're going there for the Spanish GP और वहाँ से European leg शुरू हो जाएगा और तब सीजन में इतना मसाला और इतनी मस्ती आने वाली है कि आप उसे इग्नोर ही नहीं कर पाओगे. But that is MotoGP. There are other fun stories in the world of Indian motorsport as well. Indian motorsport की दुनिया में कहीं नए ट्रैक्स खुल रहे हैं, तो कहीं नए ड्राइवर्स आ रहे हैं, तो कहीं नई चैंपियनशिप्स आ रही हैं और कई जगह काफी सारे शो रन्स आ रहे हैं. Like this weekend, the Indian Racing Festival in JK Tyre Motorsport actually went over to the Northeast.
Yes.
They had 2 amazing show runs, firstly in Kohima and secondly in Aizawl. And they're going to go for more. So, guys, if you're watching and if you're in Shillong, in Guwahati or in Gangtok, by the time this episode comes out, make sure you're checking all the dates, make sure you're checking everything because they're going to be performing in your city with the Indian Racing League car and the Indian Formula 4 car as well. And these show runs, Jamie, they bring the sport to the people. I mean, I remember when Red Bull India did the show run with the Formula 1 car in Mumbai, even people who weren't car fans came out there and they became Formula 1 fans as a result.
This is exactly what our sport really needs, These are the kinds of things that are going to highlight to the, I'd say, people that, look, this exists in your country. This is what we're up to. This is what we're doing. As a race driver myself, it's really good to see a lot more coverage for our sport. It's what we've needed all these years.
If you're a 5-year-old kid in Sikkim or 5-year-old kid in Nagaland, for instance, and you've not ever seen Formula 1, your parents or your family takes you to a show run and you're like, oh, race car. I want to be a race car driver. And that's the start of a dream. Maybe 10, 20 years down the line, someone will tell us that, hey, I was there at that show run and that's why I wanted to become a race car driver or a mechanic or an engineer or anything.
This sport is so massive. The number of industries that are basically related to the sport. Everything from the F&B industry to, let's say, building a go-karting track to everything. Everyone comes together for a race weekend. If you ever see a Formula 1 race, you might see mainly the drivers. But there's so much going on in the back end, so many different industries. Everything from a camera company to a shoe company to God knows what else,
Exactly.
They're all industries that largely benefit from such a large sport. And to have something like this, I can't wait for someone to say, oh, this seemed exciting, let me just build a couple of go-karting tracks,
Why not?
If that happens, I think we've achieved what we're looking for.
But in Chennai, the home of Indian motorsport, we had another crazy event, the Red Bull Moto Jam. I was lucky enough to be working over there and we had the most impressive part, which was the tandem show with the drift car, the stunt bikes, the stunt car on 2 wheels and also the FMX riders all performing at one go. It was mental. But even more impressive from an Indian motorsport context is the fact that 4 Indian drifters who were performing in the drift clinic, who got to learn with the Guinness World Record Abdu Figali, actually got a chance to perform in the main event in front of over 5,000 people. That is amazing. Like, we're giving them a platform.
Definitely.
And that's the most important thing.
Just diving into different forms of motorsport, that's also creating a few opportunities for everyone around. Not everyone might be interested in becoming the next best Formula car race driver.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are interested in cars. A lot of people are interested in things like turn right to go left.
Yeah,
you know?
drifting, sure. Drifting,
So-
rallying, dirt bike. You could do anything. Motorsport is huge. But again, knowing Red Bull India, they'll keep on doing such crazy stuff every now and then. The Indian Racing Festival, they don't have to do this. But the fact that they're spending so much to grow the sport, and it's a very good place for all of us.
Yeah, to have team owners like Saurav Ganguly and John Abraham into the picture was a huge step up. I think by inviting literally what is looked at as a religion in India, which is cricket, and also bringing in the next biggest thing being Bollywood. I think they've done a good job at getting the attention of a lot of locals, I would say, which is what is needed when you're growing a sport.
Exactly, and more competition, more disciplines, because the principal partners of this show, MRF, they also have so many different competitions that they compete in, like the world of rallying, like the world of car racing as well, with the world of bikes as well. And the whole message here is, motorsport is just not Formula 1, guys. There's a lot more to it. And that's what we're going to be bringing to you here on FanCode's Gearbox, powered by MRF. And that, I feel, is a great way to close off the show, because we've discussed Formula 1, MotoGP, show runs, drifting, and a lot more as well. And when we'll be back soon, there's going to be a lot more stories in each of these sports that we have to share with you. And I'm sure you'll be back for all of that and more. But for now, folks, thank you for watching. Jamie, thank you for your time, man.
Grateful
Good to have you here. And we'll be back with the next episode of FanCode's Gearbox podcast, powered by MRF.